Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan. I'm your host and joined by my blue collar badass, Matt. Uh, you're the one getting the weather this week.
Yeah, man, it's nasty for around these parts. We're projected to get like up to 18 inches of snow by tomorrow morning, and yesterday it was warm. It was 43 degrees, so everything got slushy and kind of melted up, and then overnight it all froze. So it's solid ice, and then there's a shit ton of snow on top of it now.
Are you guys mostly inside for this time of year, or do you still have exterior stuff to do?
We've got two indoor projects right now, which is nice. We do have a major earthwork project that we took the risk and decided to push through the winter, and this is what you risk. So we've got about 4 feet of frost in the ground out there, but we're hoping in a couple of weeks it warms up enough that we can at least drag out foundation lines and put in some utilities.
Nice. Well, guys, for the foreseeable future, we will have guests on the podcast, which is really nice to have and lined up for really probably the rest of the year. And with that, today we're bringing you Pete Johnson. He's really an all-around expert in all things coatings, flooring, concrete, and we're super excited to have him on. Longtime business owner and a guy that is very familiar with the cold, being up in Minnesota. So without further ado, Pete, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate having me. Like Matt said, it's good to be inside sometime these days. It's 5 degrees. We don't got the snow like you guys got, but it's been very cold for the last couple of weeks.
Whereabouts in Minnesota are you?
Just south of Minneapolis, St. Paul. So my office where I'm sitting right now is just 5 minutes from the airport. So basically it's South Central kind of point right now. So same thing where it's nice where, southern half of the state, I guess it's cold, but you go just an hour north of me, it's like double digits negative, like all the year round. Like it's just, or 6 months of the year is terrible. So I can't complain too bad.
There you go. We choose to live here, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Pete, I think a good place to start, you've been, the first employee at like Citadel Floors and doing technical support and training over the years. What really got you into the flooring industry?
It kind of happened by chance, honestly. I was active duty Army before I got into the industry. And so I was stationed out in California, and I was transitioning off of active duty, and same thing, like we choose to live here. I was going to move back to Minnesota. That's where I'm from. I'm around this area. And I had reached out to a friend who kind of put me in contact with another gentleman. And he just kind of said, hey, he's a wild card. You never know what he's got. He was a foundation waterproofing in basements and foundation waterproofing exterior builder. And I kind of reached out to him. He didn't have anything at the time. 6 months later, after I moved back to Minnesota and had gotten a job, he gave me a call and said he's looking to start up this new flooring division, doing garage floor coatings. Something I never heard of, didn't know anything about. That was in the middle of the winter, so I went out and checked out some installs, and the same thing. It was like 5 degrees outside, and we froze our ass off, but it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And so he offered me a position, and I started off as a residential garage floor installer and working with some products that were pretty new to the industry and this technology that was just kind of starting back in 2006 and 7. And so honestly, just kind of by chance, kind of stumbled into the right guy at the right time and got into it. And, that company took off, and we did a lot of great things after that. So
garage floor coatings, man, those are, at least back then, those used to be kind of relegated to the real fancy houses, right?
Exactly. And that's kind of where I started. It seemed to be doing high-end homes where, like for out here, the west side of the town, you're looking at $500 million plus houses, these 2, 3, 4 car garages, because at that point, that's all that could afford it. And that's just kind of where the market was tailored to. But, over the course of the last 17 years, it's completely changed. The market's changed, and kind of being able to go after a whole different spectrum of clientele and be able to offer products at a competitive price point to any household, basically, whether it's a garage floor coating or anything like that. So it's actually changed dramatically over the last 15 years.
Nice. So I didn't mean to cut you off on your history, but is it primarily, epoxy coatings or coverings, or is it something different that your history is with?
It's something different, actually. Yeah. So when I first started with a company called Citadel Floor Finishing Systems, we just kind of started working with a product called polyaspartic. So polyaspartic by nature and chemistry has been around for like 40 plus years. Spray on like tank linings, water towers, and containment types and stuff. It's very chemical resistant, very abrasion resistant. Well, it was very fast curing, and Bayer Chemical actually had the patent up until 2005. They let the patent go. A couple of other chemical manufacturers picked up that patent, changed the chemistry a little bit, and kind of slowed it down to the floor. So really, my chemistry background, not a chemist by any means, but I was at kind of the leading front of utilizing polyaspartics as a floor coating. Before that, it was all epoxies. So before that, epoxy has been around for 80 plus years, and it would take multiple days to install a floor. Well, the polyaspartics came around, and then we basically took that down from 2 to 3, 4 days installs down to 1 day. So 2006, 7, 8, we kind of helped develop a product called polyurea, basically like a truck bed liner, but we kind of took that, slowed it down. Instead of like a 5-second cure, we changed it into an 1.5-hour cure. So my background has been in polyurea and polyaspartic 1-day floor systems. And so I kind of helped develop those products, those systems, and basically bringing them to life through different products and different chemical manufacturers and distributors from 2006 to current.
So guys, if you can't tell, Pete is a true expert in all the chemical makeup, the product development, and getting all this products, right, the chemistry of these up and off the ground, and doing product development, right? You just said you developed this and made it a true thing, and taking it from a 5-second to an 1.5-hour cure. What does that really do for the flooring, and why would you want to extend that curing time versus having something that's frankly like instant?
Sure. So like when they spray a truck bed liner, or they're spraying like paints, essentially HVLP guns and plural component guns, you're atomizing it. So basically, without atomizing it, it becomes healthier, basically. So we're not atomizing. Like one of the parts of polyurea is called an isocyanate. If you introduce air, now we're wearing masks, full suits, everything like that, introducing solvents. And so those are very fast cured because they have to be sprayed out of a gun. They initially, contact, and they cure it away. So we have taken that technology and basically put everything into batch mixing. So A and B go into a bucket. You have what's called a pot life, and then you just dip and roll it. So it's like rolling paint on a wall, just in a faster setting, basically. So we've made it safer in that capacity. And then also, when you slow down a cure time like that, you actually have better adhesion to a substrate like concrete or something that's a porous substrate, but it allows it to kind of soak in a little bit better. And then within that chemistry, it works with the moisture and everything within there. So that's what I did back at Citadel. Is I worked directly with a chemist to come up and change those iterations of products to come up over and over. And so as we started off with a installation company, we kind of moved into a distribution company, and then ended up buying out that chemical manufacturing company and actually becoming a manufacturer, to the point where we were be able to control every single ingredient and mixing it on site and then distributing through all over the world. We had customers from Canada, South Africa to Australia.
Wow, that's a lot to handle.
The company blew up. It was crazy. Actually, it got sold to Rust-Oleum, so
Really,
it was a very, very large company, and it's gotten larger since I've left. But the chemical makeup of polyurea and everything, that's kind of how it all started. And that's kind of where I got my, that's where I cut my teeth on coatings, and it's that chemical knowledge, and just taking it from there.
So first off, thank you for your service. I meant to say that earlier, right off the jump. I greatly appreciate it. But obviously now you're not with Citadel. You're with is it Valence Protective Coatings?
Yep. Valence.
Okay.
Yep.
So are you doing primarily the same sort of product, same sort of prospecting, or what do you do at Valence?
Yeah. So after kind of Citadel and everything after we sold the company, I went on my own doing residential installations, concrete polishing, and doing everything decorative concrete related. And I was kind of being subbed out as a company, kind of bouncing around helping guys on installations. And one of the guys that I had helped train back in my Citadel days was another installer. He was looking to get into chemical distribution. And so he had kind of asked me if I would help him develop some products, work with the chemist that he has kind of working with, and kind of bring those products to light. And so then I went to go work for him full time, starting another company, or helping him start another company called Pentech Industrial Coatings. They're still out there going strong, very big company. So I helped start them from 2013, I think it was. And then I left last year in 2 years ago now, 2020, just to go take another job. Honestly, I was just going to kind of go take a desk job. I thought I was just going to collect a paycheck and sit behind a desk and live a good life. Well, that lasted about a month before I was tired with that. I couldn't do it. I had customers and people calling me and asking me for products and everything that way. So it was kind of nice to be able to offer those type of assistance to, customers, and to have the knowledge. And so now with Valence, so basically Valence is my company. We started in August of 2020, essentially kind of right in the middle of the pandemic, and have kind of grown. So my specialty and our specialty with Valence started off with polyurethane and polyaspartic. So basically garage floor coatings, utilizing the same technology that I've known and being able to grow businesses. In the last year and a half, we've moved into our fourth warehouse. We outgrew the first 3, and we brought on 3 other lines to distribute for. So now we're essentially a full stop distribution line. So we have everything from buckets to paintbrushes and rollers. We have all the equipment that you need to put it down. So diamond grinders and bits and everything that way. And then we offer products from anything along the waterproofing lines, anything to coat a brick, a paver, a foundation, or decorative concrete, anything in between. We try to be a one-stop shop. And so we've positioned ourselves that way. And then we also offer training courses and workshops for guys getting into it. So one of my specialties that I've been doing for 15 years is training people, helping them get into the industry and helping them grow a business, learn the industry, learn the products, and kind of grow. And so this year for 22, one of our big things we've been trying to do is take a little bit different approach, as it's not just about distribution. It's not just about buckets out the door. It's more about building that relationship and building that business. Because if we can increase their business and we're loyal to them, they're going to be loyal to us. And so I've really kind of taken a better approach just in the last month of trying to build those relationships and take our core business guys and build them up.
Now with that, for when building those relationships, I mean, how important has training been to really your business? I mean, this is very technical stuff in case you guys can't tell, right? Like you're talking about polymer chains and like how this stuff cures and timing of it and safety concerns and chemistry and like, hopefully you're not going to die with this stuff, right? Like, just in some of the acids and stuff, like, this is safe. This needs to be stored in this, like just in general chemistry, right? Like this thing can kill you. This is safe. You can drink this, right? Like in chemistry in general. But for what you guys are dealing with, like, I mean, how important is that training aspect for everything that you're doing?
It's crucial, honestly. And that's why, we have monthly classes, whether that's a new customer coming on or anybody that's looking for residual training or do anything, because our products in polyurethane in general, they install just slightly different than a standard epoxy. They're just the way they go down, just chemically the way they work. And so we need to bring them into our warehouse. And I put a 3-day class on teaching them the ins and outs, putting it on, hands on, and most importantly, so you can put it down the right way so it lasts. Like as a distributor and having some of the formulations that we have, we stand behind them. So as a manufacturer, distributor, we stand behind those products for 15 years in a residential setting for what's called delamination, peeling, and lifting. And so we want to make sure that our guys are as trained as good as possible to make sure that they're putting down the quality floor. Obviously, the customer's happy. It looks amazing. Most importantly, it has the durability to last for those 15 plus years. So training is extremely important in our field.
So I'm going to ask the dumb question because I've heard of the product, I think, but I call everything epoxy. So what does it look like? I mean, once it's applied, is it a clear product? Is it colored? Can you do all the above or?
All the above, yeah. So traditional, like in a garage floor setting. So most of our customers are doing garage floor. So in a garage floor setting, we have a system called a full flake system. So you've probably seen it in floors before. Like maybe it has a gray layer and it's got these little specks kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Traditionally, that's a do-it-yourself style kit, what's known as a partial flake. So we got a partially broadcasted flake. Well, in our world, we would take like a gray tinted base coat, put that down and do like a full broadcast of flakes. So a do-it-yourself kit, they might give you 2 to 3 pounds of flakes of decorative media. We're broadcasting 40 to 80 pounds, so a lot. And we cover it basically. So it's kind of got a terrazzo marble kind of a look to it. And then once we clean all that up, we put a very durable, thin polyaspartic layer of clear over the top of that. So both clear and tinted. And then we also, one product doesn't fit everything. So we build a system to your needs, whether it's a garage floor or maybe you got your manufacturing facility, whether you got forklift traffic or anything like that. We can adjust the media or the look to make sure that that's actually going to last and hold up to that type of traffic.
So do you do much commercial work?
We do. A handful of our guys do, honestly. So it's kind of a niche thing. Obviously, you guys do a lot of commercial work and everything. So like residential, you're dealing with a new customer every day. You kind of get paid every day.
Yeah.
Again, I'm talking to the choir, but getting those relationships with commercial builders and kind of getting into those and having those relationships goes a long way. So it takes a while to get there, but we have some guys that pretty much only do commercial, looking at 2 to 50,000 square feet. And then most of our other guys are kind of doing residential.
Gotcha. I think we've built a couple restaurants in the last 10 years. And I'm guessing, although I called it epoxy, it sounds like it was something more closer to what you're talking about with the full flake. And, we did coved right up the wall and
yeah,
it worked really well.
Yep. And it could be an epoxy. We can still get the very similar look. Let's say like an epoxy versus a polyurethane, you can still kind of get that look. Chemically, they're different. And the reason we use certain things, especially in our environment, again, we talked about the weather. So like polyurethanes are very flexible. So as concrete shifts and moves, it can kind of move with that. Epoxies can be a little more brittle, so they can, impact resistance. So there's advantages to both. It depends upon the look. So it could have been either one of those, but that's where it's at. The finished look, the durability, holding up to the chairs, the restaurant grease, whatever that is. You cove it for the code, so it's not having the cleanability factor, all those type of things. Yep. So we do all that too.
So how about prep? Is it still similar? Do you have to, grind the floor or shot blast it or all of those aspects?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So grinding and shot blasting is essentially the industry standard nowadays. Do-it-yourself guys are acid washing and stuff like that, which is, one, it's not good for the environment. 2, you're not going to get an adequate prep on the floor. So everything we do is we sell diamond grinders, the bits, everything to go with that to make sure that they have the correct surface profile. And that just allows your coating to bond to it. Because the biggest thing in our industry is prep, making sure it's done right. So you have long-term adhesion. So it's exactly where anybody that's doing it right should be using a shot blaster or a diamond grinder.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Kind of an unrelated but amusing story. So we built a large facility a couple of years ago, about 50,000 square feet, and it was all polished and sealed concrete. So similar equipment, it sounds like, different process. The guys that I hired to do it, so we were in process of having the elevator installed. So on the second floor, per OSHA standards, we have this big wooden cage built around the opening, and it sticks out about 2 feet. Well, the guys running the grinder decided not to move the blockade out of the way so they could grind the floor. They said they'd come back later. And ever since, it looks like dog shit, because you can see this perfect little rectangle. It looks like a doormat almost, where, they came back with their grinder. They tried and they can't get it to match. And luckily the owner's fine with it. They don't mind it. Every time I walk in the building, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I am too. Because I mean, the same with, anybody that you're in the industry. That's the first thing you notice. Like, I don't think I walk into anywhere without staring at the floor. It's like the first thing that I've noticed. There's a garage or a commercial building, and yeah, you pick it apart, and you notice those imperfections, and that's too bad that happened. Because yeah, if you don't do it seamless the first time, the blending in is always going to look like a patch.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess in that, so this is clearly not my area of expertise, but for the coatings and things that you do, like obviously there's a lot of technical like nuance to what you're doing. Like for a garage floor that might be fairly straightforward, just like most residential things are, right? It's fairly easy and straightforward. But for some of the commercial applications, like on the technical side of it and figuring out like what needs to get put down, how to put it down, like how should somebody bring you into that process? Obviously the sooner the better, but like what does that look like in some of the like more technical applications that you guys get into?
And honestly, it's, in those larger applications, it starts with the architect. So the architect typically is going to spec in the type of flooring, whether it's vinyl plank to a resinous type of flooring. And usually it's just spec'd in as a resinous flooring. So as a distributor and some of the big manufacturers, you have to submit either a change order, or more importantly, before that, you kind of want to submit all your products and your tech data sheets and in your specs to the architect. So then they would actually try to recommend you, try to get you written into a spec. I'm not good at spec writing, and I'm not good at trying to get myself into specs. I've kind of just never been my expertise. But what we typically find is, if you're an architect, I apologize, I'm an architect, listen to this, but they typically don't fully understand what the right product and what they need is for what the really is. It's just the truth. And so we typically have to deal with the general contractor at that point to say, hey, they spec'd in say a metallic floor, which is a very high-end, marbly looking floor because it looks beautiful. Well, they spec that in for, say, an auto body shop. Well, that's going to be slippery in hell. It's going to stretch and it's not going to hold up. It looks cool, but they just don't fully know. So unfortunately, we deal with a lot of it on the back end of it to try to get change orders in. So it's kind of hard to get in front of the architect to get it spec'd in immediately, at least what I've found out right away. So we deal with more of the struggle on the back end. And then it's just a matter of polyureas in the short term have only been around for 15, 16, 17 years. Epoxy's been around 70, 80 years. That's just what they spec in. That's what they know. Just like, you say, hey, I call everything epoxy. Everybody says the same thing. I want epoxy floor. So if I say, I don't do epoxy, I do polyurea, they go, I don't give a shit, just put something down. So it's a little bit of that educational game. And so we've been trying to fight more of the back end of the fight and trying to convince or change the mindset of the architect after the fact. So that's kind of where we've had a little bit more of the struggle.
Yeah, I've heard it helps, and this is not through personal experience, but if you have a condo in Vail, I hear they listen to you a lot faster.
It sounds about right. Yeah. So, and the hard part, like, we try to bid on some of these large jobs. So let's say if you're going to build that 50,000 square foot, if I don't know you personally, or if I don't know that, I just come in and say, hey, this is what I want you to come in. If we don't have that personal relationship, you've probably already got your guy that you're going to pick. I know when I was an installer, like the Viking Stadium was being built. I went in there, I was there like, oh, you're, veteran points, I'm a service disabled veteran, so I get points for that. Well, I walked in to go bid on it. They're like, well, are you union? No. Oh, you're automatically out. And they just would give zero consideration to that. And I couldn't afford, as a small owner operator, to go pay the $50,000 to join the union. It wasn't worth it for them to do that. And so it's hard to kind of get in. So unless you, like I said, you don't have some of those pat on the backs, I've found it harder to kind of get into those.
So do you handle installation too, or just distribution to subcontractors?
Just distribution through subcontractors. Yeah. So I don't really install anymore.
Okay.
Now, I help my neighbor kind of do a floor. We traded out some video work. I'll go help some local guys, but now I've kind of just do trainings here at the shop, do all the technical side of things. And then I just basically travel, visiting customers. And so if they have a large job, or if I'll go work with them a day or two to kind of either show them a new product or more importantly, just get their guys additional training.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Cause we'll get subcontractors all the time reaching out to us that want to work with us and, but for a supplier to reach out and say, hey, I've got this amazing floor covering, my initial response is always, well, I don't put it down. You got to go find one of our guys that do that. Yep. You may have the best floor covering in the world, but it's a tough dynamic to bridge because typically speaking, we would never directly buy any product from you or from anyone. We could kind of point you in the right direction to some of our preferred installers, and that may be the way to go about it, I guess. But that's a tough one.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of my guys, at least, residential or small commercial, at least, they're not geared or they don't know how to come to you, right? So they're going to come to you as the GC and be like, hey, I got the best flooring and I can show you the tech data sheets and stuff like that. Same thing. You're either going to trust them or you're not. Either he's going to be one of the preferred vendors or not. And that's just kind of a choice. And so it's hard for us to go after, general contractor and sell that because just like you said, you might have the final decision, but it's ultimately, it trickles back through the contractor that you have to trust who's going to put down the right product that you believe in as well.
I mean, that's where the relationship building comes in. You got to have trust across all sides between you and the installer, and then the installer and me or whoever. And, doing the classes, I think, is a fantastic idea.
Yeah. Well, and I think so too. And like we do privileged residence coatings, but I mean, we're also distributors for a company called Surecrete. So they get into like the overlay training, like overlays, wood plank overlays, wall stamping, stuff like that. But then we also teach polishing as well. So kind of trying to help my guys diversify as much as they can. So if they happen to come across like that 50,000 square foot warehouse, they can at least talk to me. Hey, I got this opportunity. I got to go talk to Matt about this. What do I talk to Matt about this? And whether he gets the job or not, it doesn't automatically eliminate him.
I guess in that, because your guys really have to form deeper relationships, right? And they go into it with a training mindset, right? And just an educational mindset of what is it that you do that hasn't been around forever. It's not a default spec, right? For a lot of these architects frankly, on the commercial side, you don't change specs that often. Like it just does not happen. You try not to mess with it, don't fix what ain't broke, type of mentality. And again, you haven't been sued on it, so you just leave it, is really how a lot of those specs get written. It's funny, but it's true. So through that, like in going after this in a way of education, training, like how have you found for really Valence and even your career in going into it as like a training, help first, educational mindset? Like, how have your clients stayed with you longer, or have they, than maybe some of your competitors or other people you see within the industry, right? And going at it from a let's just say a sales first mentality versus a education first mentality.
Yeah. So, and we put that kind of up front. So when we have somebody new contact us, say they want to come to class, whether they're just getting into business or they want to switch products or stuff like that, that's immediately what we tell them. We say, we're not just here just to provide a bucket out the door. We'll provide you customer service. We have a social media marketing company that we help with social media marketing, getting leads, lead generation, applications at that. And then when we have them come to class, it's a 3-day hands-on class. And basically we allow them to have 100% full access to myself, anybody within our office, all of our products, and to show them the benefits of what you're going to get by coming on board with us. And then if you're new into business or the industry, that's kind of why most of our guys start with residential. It's kind of that crawl before you walk and then run thing. Because again, I can train somebody in a couple of days and typically they can go out and knock out a 500 square foot garage. Probably not as efficient as I am, but they're going to be able to take care of it. They're not going to jump into that 50,000 square foot floor and be so far over their head, they're screwed. And so a lot of our guys start small. And again, being a 1-day system, you can go knock out, at first, you're knocking out 1, 2, 3 floor jobs a week. They're going to start getting to 2 to 4 to 5 jobs a week. and collecting that paycheck or that, that check from the homeowner every day. And so as they kind of build that, they build their knowledge. That's when we really teach them to start to diversify. So right away, we basically say, hey, start simple. That's why we're garage floor guys. We start with a simple garage floor system. It's pretty simple. Once you learn the basics, I can teach you the rest. So that's why we do a lot of residual training. We offer the workshops, guys come back. And I would say, since Valence and everything's kind of started, we don't really have people leave. I mean, we've had a couple people leave, but they see the value in what we do. And that's kind of where I'm trying to focus this year, building that relationship like you're talking about. So we bring in so much value beyond just what's in the bucket, that we're truly helping you build your business. Because that's ultimately what I want to do, is I want to coach people to build their business. And I've done that in the past. And now that's our focus primarily, is we can help you build your residential garage floor business from starting off with 1 floor a week, and then you move to 5 floors a week. You just, quadruples your business, your revenue, increase my business, more buckets out the door, and we all win.
Absolutely. It's a great business model. And frankly, it works whether you're in the commercial field or residential field, industrial, it doesn't matter. It's about heavy communication and building the relationships, but giving more than you're expecting to get in return.
100%. And that's everything, like our core values, it's honesty, integrity, passion, and innovation. And we live them every day. They're painted on my wall. And I make sure that every one of my employees and my customers are at my training center. And that's just kind of what we do. And that's what you're going to get from us every single day. And as business owners, how it is, we work more hours than most other people, and we're passionate about it. And I'm extremely passionate about decorative concrete, and it shows through my customers. And that's why, we're able to retain those long-term customers and help them grow, because they see the value in that, where they're not just going to a local distribution house and picking up. We're not Home Depot. We're not going to be a Subway. We're not going to just put a customer on every single corner. We have territories, we have markets, and we try to help build that market, whether it's Minneapolis or San Antonio or whatever that is. We allow you to expand into those markets and help you build and grow to the expectations that you want.
So it sounds like Valence and is growing pretty fast for as long as you've been out there doing this. And you don't have to answer this 100% honestly if you don't want, but are you seeing all of the crazy supply chain issues on your side, and is it affecting your growth?
100%. Yeah. So basically, like we call it polyaspartic, like our top coat. It's a needed product for every system, most part that we do. And some of the raw materials come from China, Japan, Thailand. So as the whole container shortage, all that whole BS and everything we're going through right now, that's put a big crimp on it all last year. So 2021 was significant growth for us. I mean, it was awesome, but we probably could have even doubled the size of what we did if we would have had unlimited supply for that. We kept getting price increases. We tried to hold on to our prices as much as we could. But again, we're not the cheapest. We're more like the Rolls Royce in the systems. We're a high-end quality product. And we've designed our products for that. So to get some of those higher end raw materials are very kind of hard to get. There's 2 plants that help make some of those products or the raw materials. One's in Texas, had the freeze last year, and the other one got taken out in New Orleans by the hurricane. And now there's another freeze coming in Texas, and New Orleans is still struggling with COVID. So this year, we're not really seeing a huge improvement. There's still dramatic shortages on some of the products. And so we've actually held back on bringing on new business for a couple of reasons. But one, I just got to be able to supply my current customers and not have everybody out short. I'm only going to be able to provide for them and their growth. And so, we still deal with that shit every single day on the phone with people that are making my stuff. What's it look like? What do you see? Where's your container at? Or what's it? And so the industry itself is growing. Every construction industry has been booming. It's been taking off. And so our industry is no different. But the shortage, at least on some of those products, have absolutely kicked us pretty bad.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's changing anytime real soon. In fact, it's probably getting worse. But it boils back to that constant communication, and I'm on the phone every day with my subs who are on the phone with their distributors and suppliers. And as long as we can all convey that same information, as long as it gets back to me in a form that I can translate to my customers, to the owners I'm working for, it seems to smooth things out, but it makes it for pretty stressful times for sure.
Yeah, it's been tough, but it's the same thing. Like you said, communication. We run or have a private Facebook group for our customers. And so I kind of, post everything there for whatever it is. And if it's good, bad, or ugly, I'm just open. And that's, like I said, one of our core values, honesty. And if it's bad, I'm going to tell you, it's just the way it's going to be. And we've been able to, it's gotten close, but we've been able to supply everybody with everything so far. So shortages like 4 to 6 weeks out that we hear, we haven't had that. 1 to 2 weeks and stuff like that. But as long as people know that, and the guys are doing these big jobs, the same thing. They're talking to their GC, they're talking to whoever they're doing the project work, and just conveying, hey, like pigments. So like to make something gray, if that was clear, that was out 6 weeks. Guy had a 50,000 square foot floor. It's going to take me 6 weeks. It's just the way it is. And he had to postpone that new build, unfortunately, but everybody for the most part has been pretty understanding for what we're doing, as long as you can be communicative and talk it through. So we haven't had it that bad, but I really hate if it got any worse.
Yeah, the good thing is that it seems that everyone now is caught up on the information train, and it's no mystery that we're having these issues as across any industry right now, really. But 6 weeks, I'd relish it, a 6-week lead time on most of our stuff right now. Some of our roofing insulation, it used to take me 4 days. It's taking 6 months, and it's planning for that is nuts. But again, you get through it, and as long as you're brutally honest with everybody, it still seems to be working in the right direction. So I can't complain too much. Just a different way of doing business now.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, everybody's kind of aware of it and they understand it now. And so, like I said, if we can say that, like typically like a standard order, depending upon size, we could either flip that same day or next day, because we have so much inventory. Until it starts to get low, of course, and then we're starting going, oh shit, where's it coming? What's it happening? And again, we've been pretty good about it, but it's only one-off stuff that we're telling people, 2 to 3 weeks out, 6 weeks out. It's pretty one-off, but we got a lot of money invested into some products just because you have to have them. We have to have them in stock, just because I don't know where the next container or next bucket's coming from.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits. Like I went to a last mile conference last week in Vegas. I know World of Concrete was a couple weeks ago, with really the benefit that I think a lot of us have had is supply chain is a conversation that happens at the dinner table now, right? Like it's top of everybody's mind. It's on the news. It's something that people really understand. And like the whole thing with like containers in the middle of the ocean, right? People understand that like that's how you get stuff. And it's really opened, I think, a lot of eyes on where things are manufactured, how we get stuff, how it's transported, everything that goes into it, whether that's truck, train, delivery driver, whatever it might be, that it's a small, very small silver lining in this whole thing is really just the education of where things are produced, how we get them. And then, for like construction projects, especially like residential, where those homeowners were very rarely educated on the whole process of putting anything together. They have, maybe a better glimpse of it than they previously would have for those projects. So with kind of the homeowner piece, are your guys doing new builds, or is this a like come in, I've lived in this home for 10 years and I'd like a better looking floor in my garage?
Yeah, both, to be honest, but I would say the majority of our guys are coming in on floors that have been down for 2 to 20 plus years old. So one of the benefits of putting a coating down is we can come in, grind it, fill in all your cracks. And so again, us in the north, they have salt and all the roads. We have all that salt damage, that pitting, that spalling. We have products that come in and fill all that back in, and then basically put your coating on top of that. So if we can come in on a standard garage that might be 5, 10, 15 years old, have some damage to it, we can actually be cheaper by doing our entire process than about 10 or 15% cheaper by putting the coating down and then having them rip out that concrete and pour a new slab. Now, there are some slabs that are just too far gone, but I would say the majority of our business and what our customers go after are those floors that are 10, 15 years old in the northern half of the thing. So, one, it's aesthetically pleasing, looks awesome. More importantly, it's protecting the concrete from all the salt, the damage, and anything, those chemicals from before. And two, you don't have the rough texture or any of that salt damage and all that crap from before. So new builds are awesome because they're new concrete. It's not a lot of repairs, but I would say the majority of our guys are existing floors for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I think really the last 2 years have shown a lot of people putting more money into their existing house, right? It's one of two things. They're either going to move out of the city to somewhere else, or they figure they're going to stay put. I mean, we went through this really at the beginning of last year trying to move, and we're like, screw it. We're just going to stay and put money into our house where we live, because we're not going to buy into a, it's great if you could sell into a rising market, but bad if you're going to buy into it. So I think a lot of people are doing, just that, where they're fixing up, improving where they are now, and, adding value back into where they're living.
And that's why one of the reasons, honestly, this industry is taken off so much with all home improvement industry in reality. But people are they're spending more money on their house. They're at home more. Everybody's typically working from home more. And so they spend that money. And that's kind of what we noticed too, was when we started, it was a great takeoff, but we actually spun off a whole entire different company called Valence Supply, just for either do-it-yourself style products or small local kind of I don't want to call it like a Sherwin-Williams, but essentially you can drop in and pick up a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So it's completely different products than all of our training and everything like that. But again, it's if you need a paint cover, you need a roller, you need a couple of gallons of epoxy or something like that. We have an entire supply side of things where people can just either order online for their distribution. So our Surecrete, our TK products, we have an entire line that people don't need the training on those lines, those products. So we just open up ourselves into a different type of non-contractor base or very small contractor base, whether they're just a painter and they're just going to go do a small little wall or something like that in somebody's house. They can come now do that. Don't need all the training, do all that. So they don't get the advantage of like the Valence side, but we're still getting a lot of sales on that side of things as well.
Diversification is the key, man. I love it.
Basically, we tell everybody, or at least our contractors, there's no brick, paver, or piece of concrete that at a house that you can't protect, make beautiful, or coat in some way, shape, or form. So
nice.
Shouldn't be walking away from anything.
Well, Pete, what is, from your standpoint, you've been in this industry, a long time, seen a lot of things, been around the block. What's something that you've seen here even recently that's really one of the bigger problems, and how do we go about solving or trying to address whatever the problem is that you're seeing in the industry?
Education, honestly. And I think that's kind of why I'm so passionate about it, is it seems like there's a lot more people kind of getting into it. There's a lot more people saying, hey, I can go grab the stuff from Home Depot or whatever, put it down, or I'm just going to get a couple buckets. So we've seen more people start up as distribution people, more companies start up as installation companies, more, like I said, like a painter I'm going to do it. Well, if they don't have the right education to make sure that they're doing it the right way, putting it down the right way, educating them educating the homeowner why you're using this product, how it's going to benefit them. A lot of times those products they fail. They don't last the way they should. And then more importantly, what that does, it just gives the whole industry a bad name. So that goes with anything, but we're starting to see a lot of people not go through the training, not doing like test floors, doing their own floors, getting the education, putting the money into starting the business the way it should with the correct diamonds and the diamond grinders and stuff. If one of our machines could be $23,000, $25,000, it's a decent investment. To return that can come back pretty quickly, but it's education, getting guys out there with the right product, and just making sure that, more importantly, you stand behind it, whether as a distributor, as an installer, you stand behind that product. And at all costs, you do the right things. That's what I just do the right thing at all times. Something fails, we're all human. I've mixed wrong before. shit happens. You just do the right thing and you fix it. So I can see our industry growing dramatically, but I would like to see more education, more people come into classes, not just mine, but anybody's classes, and diversification. So nobody's an expert. I believe everybody's always learning, no matter what. I said, if you're not learning something different every day, you're falling behind. And that's why I try to be active on Facebook groups or coaching groups within the industry, learning different skills, because you can always learn. So I've taken an educational standpoint, maybe just because I teach classes, but I think everybody should be coming to those classes and learning as much as you can before you actually start putting down products.
Spot on, man. I mean, guys, listen to him. He's our second or third guest of the year, and the second or third guy to say, educate the consumer, right? Educate whoever's paying your bills, keep them happy, do the right thing. It's not rocket science, right? But it's very few and far between. You know, it's just it's a good way to do business, man. So congrats to you.
Thanks. And that's what I teach, like on the sales side of things. And like we have a sales kind of a boot camp class, we call it Team B. And I'm not a salesman. I don't want to be a salesman, but I teach a class called technical sales. And it's just literally just teaching them so much information as an installer that when they go and sell, all they're doing is educating the customer of the product, how it works, and what benefits them. And if you can do that, you just sold yourself a floor. I don't want a slimy sales guy just going, hey, your floor is going to last forever. That's not true. It's going to do, not everything does everything. And so educate, if I can educate my contractor who can educate the homeowner, that's all it takes.
Pete, where can they find you?
A couple of different places. So Facebook, it's Valence Protective Coatings. Same with Instagram. Those are going to be our two big platforms. So we try to post as much as we can on Valence Protective Coatings or Valence Coatings on both those platforms. If you're a smaller contractor, anybody looking to get into the industry or kind of looking for more information, we also have our Valence Supply Facebook and our Instagram pages. Or email me at peter@valence, VALENCE coatings.com.
Awesome. And guys, go check out Peter, especially if you're in the industry or want to be into it. Maybe two final questions, but how is the Facebook group working out for you? Like, I don't think I've ever heard or know contractor or anybody in construction that runs their own Facebook group for their clients. So please tell us more about that.
It's everything for me, honestly. It's where I post all my information. So it's a private group. You don't get invited to the group until you've come through our class. You get your certification. And then essentially, if they're on Facebook, which everybody typically is, then you send an invite or we invite you into the group. And obviously with the Facebook, everything's always there. So whether if I posted last year, whatever it is, you always got that library, and any new product, any new training, anything I'm doing in there, I post everything in that group. So all my certified guys can see it, and only they can see it. So a lot of our stuff we do is proprietary information or proprietary chemicals. If it's not, then it goes on our general Facebook page. But I would say my private page of coatings and consulting kind of a page has been our number one way to kind of get everything out. So like we do email blasts and stuff like that, but I'm in that group. My guys are posting in that group, whether they need a picture of a job. Hey, I need a picture for my trailer. We created a network of guys that are just willing to work together. And I would say it's been by far the number one way of communication for us.
I love that. It's innovative, man. Like Dillon said, you don't hear about that much, but that's very cool.
Been awesome for us, and our guys use it every day. So usually we got a new guy posting about something else. Either they're asking a question of, hey, what to do, or they're asking for a picture. They're asking, who knows what it is. And then it also allows me to give that person technical advice and allows everybody else to see it at the same time. So it's not just a one-on-one conversation. So sometimes too, if I'll take a private conversation, I'll then go post that exact same situation in the consulting page so everybody can see what that answer would be to that question. So it's always a library of what we're doing or an answer to a question.
Nice. And guys, I mean, that same method, right, of communication, be it in a private group, can be used in your company, it could be used for your suppliers, it can be used in a number of different ways, that's private, not out for general consumption, but a way to easily communicate with everybody in a way that is sharing, educating, informing everybody of what's going on, and really creates, I think, a clear transparency, but also for your network, right, of people that are looking for, how is this done? How does this look? They haven't maybe done one. They can share a picture of it, and now allows people to see, or show an end consumer, right, that picture of how this might look installed, even though they don't have one done. The network has it too, which is extremely powerful.
Exactly what we use it for. Just the library of, if Frank in Texas did this type of floor, and Corey in Dallas hasn't done it, now he knows exactly what it's going to look like, and then those two can communicate if they ever need to. So, and my big thing is just trying to bring a network of my guys together to build a community. We're all going to help each other. Nobody's in competition with each other. We're all just there to help each other, so everybody grows.
I love it.
Awesome. Pete, any final words before I close this out?
No, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. It's been awesome to talk a little bit about decorative concrete and my passion. So if there's anybody out there looking for anything information decorative concrete related, if I can't help you, I'd be more than happy to point you guys in the right direction.
Very cool, man. It's great to have people on that have such passion about what they do, right? I mean, you can tell you have it, and that's what we're going for with this whole project that Dillon and I do. So thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Pete, again, thank you for your service to this country. Thank you for coming on and sharing your passion. I mean, guys, it's like Matt said, if you can't hear it in his voice, well, first you need to find your own passion for something to be this enthusiastic about, something like concrete and coatings and the chemistry and everything else behind it, man. It's awesome to see really the enthusiasm, the passion, and guys, you can cultivate passion in something as what might seemingly be as mundane as concrete and coatings, like Pete has. It's really incredible to hear your story, where you've come from everything that you've been able to build, and then over the last year and a half to go through 3-4 warehouses to continue to grow, educate, inform people, do things like having a Facebook group for your clients, your network of people. It just, I think, again, your 4 core values for honesty, integrity, passion, innovation, those shine through and everything that we've talked about here today. So guys, go connect with Peter. All the links will be in the bio. And again, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing so much information. I know this was technical, especially out of the gate, guys, but again, that's what it takes to succeed and educate customers and clients and the industry about what's possible through everything that we do and putting buildings together. So again, Peter, thank you for coming on. And guys, that's going to be this episode of the Construction Corner Podcast. Until next time.